So today I really wanted to go over the event photos that I shot down in New Orleans because, I know there's a lot of good advice on YouTube and some, just not so good advice on using flash in events. Now, I've been to a couple events where I wasn't shooting. I was just an attendee, and I know it's popular to set up stands with big lights and to light up the whole event. And there's, in some cases, that's a good thing, but very few cases. The reason why is because, whether it's a wedding or a party or a corporate event, they spend a lot of money on the look of the event. With the lighting and the design and so forth. And to turn that into daylight is not the optimal thing. The other issue is, when it's a dense event, there's a lot of people, you're going to get shadows from those lights that you put in the corners and so forth. Somebody as simple as a bride and groom dancing, you have to wait for the optimal time for them to turn towards that light so there's no shadow following on him or her or them or they. And it becomes problematic. A friend of mine got married and they wanted me to attend the wedding and not shoot their wedding, which I think they were serious about. Anyway, but I took pictures anyway. The problem being is they used all my photos for their album because of that exact thing. They had 3 photographers there, 2 videographers there. They were everywhere, and then there was lights put all around every part of the venue and the church, and there were shadows everywhere, like harsh, on their faces, everywhere kind of shadows, because they had these lights everywhere. So for me, I use on camera a lot, or I use a handheld. With a remote. So if I'm using a camera that has autofocus, which is rare nowadays, but I still do it, I'll put the remote on the camera, hold the camera, and have this like this, and just move it to where I want it. Otherwise, if I'm using Leica, I'll just put on-camera flash. Now, this isn't the flash I use for this. I just don't have it here. But I use the Leica SF40 and the Leica SF24D. Now, the 24D doesn't have a tilt or anything like that. It's straight in their face kind of flash. And, it shows it, but you can create some nice images with it. And the SF40, which, is something like this, what I do is I use the card and I use the little diffuser and I tilt it up a little bit. This doesn't do much for softness or anything like that, but it gives me a little bit more height than right in their face. It gives me that much more height. And I tilt it just a little bit. Even if I'm outside or anything, I'm not bouncing this thing. That's why I put the card out inside of the diffuser, because I'm just pushing more light forward. And I get a little bit nicer look. I'm not going to say softer, it's just a little nicer look with it. And I use this setup all the time with the SF40 or, even the Godox V, because you can do the same thing. You just put the card out enough so it's pushing it forward. A lot of venues don't have low white ceilings or walls that are close enough to bounce light off of. And I know a lot of YouTube photographers like to say, you can bounce it and you can bounce it off the walls and you can, obviously you can if you're in a small room with white everywhere, but typical venues, they just don't have that option available, if you will. And if it's a lot of people, you're bouncing off of people, not off of walls. So that being said, now if you have it to bounce, then do it by all means. But otherwise, this works really, really well. The other thing is, look for your light, because a lot of the venues, like the one event was outside. I didn't have much light to work with. But the inside event was a church converted to an event venue. The ceilings were, 50 feet tall. I'm not bouncing off anywhere in this church. So I had to use the lights they provided and the strobe to fill in. I set my ISO to 1600. Please, 1600 is like nothing for an event. I don't shoot wide open events because I'm shooting more than one people 90% of the time. Everybody says, I have to have a wide open lens because low light. That's great if you're only shooting one person all night. There's one person in each photo. But other than that, they actually want to be in focus for their event photos. So I'm going to take you through some of the event photos. There's small clips of me shooting, nothing major. I don't shoot through the whole thing, but at least you get to see how I'm shooting and in each event and what the photos look like from that. But if you have any questions, leave them below, and I'll try to verbally walk you through the photos and how I shot it and why I shot it that way. Again, if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Leave them below. And here's some photos from some events and the SF40 and the SF24D. Thanks for watching as always.
Now, there won't be a lot of video for these events because I'm here to shoot stills as a photographer, not as a YouTuber. But in between my daughter and I, we got some clips. This first event is outdoors. There's no ceiling. There's nowhere to bounce flash. So I use the 24D. It's a direct flash. Now, speakers, entertainment, you always have to get that. But, that one shot of the speaker, that's great. Get it. But now I'm back in that corner there because I want the speaker and the environment. I want the people that are there. I want the crowd. I want to show, context of this event versus just the speaker. It's important to get that speaker, that one shot, but then move around and get more of it. You'll notice a lot of my shots, as many as possible, have the company's logo in the photo. I do this on purpose. I'm shooting for the company, not for individuals. I do get individual shots for them, but still, since they're at this event, it means something to them or they wouldn't be here. Here I'm getting the product introduced. When you're going through this, these are just candids throughout, but you'll notice a lot of these have the logo in the shots. For group shots like this, obviously you can't, but there's the product that are introduced. I'm trying my best to get everything in. Now, this is night 2. I'm just showing this so you can see the back there of the event venue. It is a church. Again, there's nowhere to bounce, but I brought the SF40, the Leica SF40 flash on camera because I needed the extra power because it is a big room and I do have to match ambient light and I want that leeway to be able to do that. Use your ambient light as much as possible. Like I'm shooting at ISO 1600. The first thing I did was, I went in there and tested, what ISO would I be shooting at to get the ambient light looking beautiful without a flash. Once I have that nailed, then I can just dial the flash to where I need it to light my subject. The distance from your subject obviously is going to make a difference to the backdrops and so forth. But I had so much room in here and the ambient lighting was so nice. I didn't want to lose that. And you never do because they spend a lot of money in this lighting. You need to show it. You need to show the environment. Otherwise, it's just, blaring flash or almost daylight photos when you're setting lights everywhere. You'll notice I'm always squatted down quite a bit because that sign is pretty high up on the wall. And I want to make sure that sign is in the photos as much as possible. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get it all the time or you'll get a piece of it. But try your best if you're shooting for a company like this to get the signage. I'm just quick ceiling height and why, but you'll see that flashes at an angle and I do have the bounce card up. So I'm just getting a little bit more real estate on the flash. And it's going down just a little bit more than it would be if it was straight on the subject. I just want that little bit of shadowing under the chin, under the nose. And this flash is producing it pretty well. Having it lower to the camera, straight versus that angle, I would lose that. Now, I'm going to go around to as many people as I possibly can to get their photos. A key with an event is getting as many participants in photos as possible. Obviously, you want to get the key players at all times. You want to get about the event. These are influencers, so obviously I'm going to get them shooting on themselves on their phones. I'm going to get the entertainment. Just take your time, be cognizant of what's going on around you, and, enjoy yourself. Now, here's the other thing. Like when you're shooting, make sure you shoot the horizontal and the vertical. I shoot everything in horizontal, but I give myself enough room to crop the vertical because they want them for social media and they don't want to have to go through the headache of losing shots. Now, I'm back outside the entranceway to the church. Again, I'm still going to pop that sign in there. It's a little bit more power needed because I don't have all that ambient lighting, but make sure you take advantage of it. Again, groups, peel them off into individuals, you'll get more. Now, this is day 3. This is the final event. This was the parade. This was all outdoors. They had a little mansion and an outdoor area where they, had a little party, and then you can go to the parade afterwards. I went back to the SF-24D because, again, it's outdoors. I'm not going to bounce off anything. I have nothing to, I don't need that much power because I'm going to be close to subjects. And the SF-24 worked out great. It's small, compact, really lightweight, and the photos come out, I think, really good. And I like the look for a Mardi Gras parade of that in-your-face flash. Thanks for watching as always.